The Prime Minister put his foot in it by comparing Brexit to the war in Ukraine. Andrew, tell me more. In The Observer, right?
Yeah, this is in The Observer. So this was a Boris Johnson's speech to the Conservative Spring Conference in Blackpool. And I think he just made this kind of very tone-deaf suggestion. He basically compared the fight in Ukraine, the idea of sort of fighting for your freedom with Brexit. He specifically said here, he was talking about how people naturally choose freedom. And then he said, when the British people voted for Brexit in such large numbers, I don't believe it was because they were remotely hostile to foreigners. It's because they wanted to be free to do things differently and for this country to be able to run itself, which, of course, is a completely different situation to the situation in Ukraine. It is, as I say, a bit tin-eared, a bit tone-deaf. It doesn't really make sense because it is a completely different thing. But, of course, everyone's got... I think he is, moving on to what we were saying earlier about his legacy, I think he is kind of shoehorning in...
Yes.
Because, of course, he is the one who largely, by and large, got Brexit done, according to his manifesto pledge, and he did. And so he's shoehorning that in here. But, yeah, totally...
Yeah, I mean, we weren't being shelled by the European Union, although I'm sure it crossed their minds at certain
They would have liked to. I think Verhofstadt particularly would have liked to do that, but didn't happen.
Yeah, if you watch the speech, and I've watched it several times trying to understand the point he made.
Can I just say you don't get paid enough to watch that speech several times?
I know, and I watched the Truss and the Patel ones. Just
stop boasting about your research. I do research too.
Yeah, but can I say that you've watched all those speeches several times? There is a haunted look in your eyes.
Yeah, well, especially from the Truss and Patel ones because they were so boring. That's Boris's charm, which we could get onto. But the way he shoehorned is the word, because what he was trying to do clearly was bring in what he sees as his best achievements, which were Brexit and the vaccine. Mm-hmm. And the vaccine thing was even more tenuous. The vaccine was like Ukraine. That one I couldn't even figure out. But he said freedom. They want freedom, much like the freedom in Brexit, or the freedom to come forward and get the vaccine. What? So
he's not the only politician that does this.
No.
And that always brings it back to their own sort of,
to be honest,
achievements.
When it started to annoy the European Union, it became quite funny to me. I mean, it's wound up Verhofstadt and Tusk, and that's almost worth it.
I think that's worth it. I mean, Donald Tusk, who was the former president of the European Council, he has actually said that he's very angry about this. He says, Boris, your words offend Ukrainians, the British, and common sense. But don't forget, Donald Tusk, if you recall, was the one who said that Brexit would bring about the destruction of Western political civilization in its entirety. Yeah. So this man he's like a mothership to Nostradamus kind of thing. He's not averse to a bit of hyperbole himself, let's put it that way. So it's just quite funny to see them all flipping out now,
But the genius of the speech was, even despite this sort of clumsy reference to Ukraine that everyone's talking about, he managed to pull it back with that "I have a Bream" thing. Did you see that? It was incredible. He made a reference to a lugworm. He told a strange story about running on the beach in the morning and a man was collecting lugworms. And he said, but you need lugworms. It's all about, like the Tory ethos, because you need lugworms to sell, to get Breams or not, to whatever you do with them. You somehow use them to entice a Bream. And then he said, and I have a Bream, ladies and gentlemen. And it was so funny.
A great moment. Brought the house down.
Exactly. And he rescued all this ridiculous stuff he'd said at the start. Never mind the fact that our energy policy has been terrible, the Brexit, Ukraine reference. And that's why he's still so good compared to...
He's always done that. He's always done that.
Right.
When in doubt, throw a joke.
Right.
And distract people with a joke. So you think this is a deliberate ploy to distract from the issues?
Oh, not necessarily, but I did think of that he's sort of... You know, his Partygate is quite buried now with the more nonsense he throws out there. Now we're all talking about this link between Brexit and Ukraine. We're talking about Breams. We're not thinking about Partygate.
Well, you're talking a lot about Breams.
Well,
I didn't bring up the Breams.
Look, that's the difference between Boris and... If you watch Truss and Patel... See, I think I could give them lessons, Andrew, because I've been doing stand-up 10 years, always been very relaxed on stage. That's what they're missing. Boris's charm and speaking ability is so far above them, and it's enough to be Prime Minister.
Yeah, he's just another headliner. Who knew?